Hi, everybody. I hope you're well. My name is Hayden Karodis. I am the digital social media tech champion for the Digital Culture Network. And we're about to start how to take your Instagram account to the next level. So when we begin, introduction, a few housekeeping rules. First of all, just to let you know that my colleague Roberta will be in the comments, and you can ask any questions you have for her, for the team, or for this after this webinar to her. She will then collate them for me, and I'll try and answer as many as possible at the end of the Q&A, at the end of the webinar, sorry. And also, I will also send out my deck at the end as well, and any resources in an email within the next week or so. And this webinar will go up on our YouTube page for you to all access it at a later date. Okay. So in this webinar, we're going to focus on platform features and how to use them, how to build an audience, and how to measure results. Now, the reason I chose these three specific themes is that hopefully that they all feed into each other. Okay, so platform features and how to use them. Once you understand how to use those features, how that can then help you build an audience, and then from how you build that audience, how to measure the results of the actions you've taken. Okay. So without further ado, oh, sorry, I forgot. Yes, we'll do a Q&A at the end as well, and then I'll give you my final thoughts. So for me, social media is should be two-way. It should be conversational. You should be able to engage and interact with each other. So I've tried to find a way to make that happen with us in this webinar as well. So whenever you see this big phone on your screen, it says your turn. Anybody who wants to, who's got a mobile phone and has access to an Instagram account, can take part and try and use some of the teachings and some of the learnings that I've discussed. Okay, you don't have to post anything live to any of your channels, but you can go through all of the processes so that you know how to do it when you leave this webinar. Okay, so let's go. Platform features and how to use them. So we're going to concentrate on this segment on the feed, on stories, and IGTV. Now, the reason that we focus on these three elements, because they're the three main tools for Instagram. So they're the bulk of the platform's features will be based on there, and that's where you're really going to get an idea of how to use the platform at its best and really get the best out of the platform and really build an audience. Okay. So when we look at this, we're going to look at your profile. So this is how to optimize your profile. We're going to look at your grid. Then we're going to look at your feed, your actual feed, and the type of post that you can put up on your platform and on your page. Okay. So to begin, optimizing your profile. Now, for me, this is a really key piece of real estate. This is the page where when people come and look at your profile, where they really get an understanding of what your profile is about and what you're trying to achieve, what kind of content is going to come out from your page. So this is really this is the point where you really should know what you're about, what kind of content you're going about, and so people can understand who you are. As you can see, what you're first going to need to do is make sure that your account is a business account. Now, if your account is a business account, from doing that, what you'll be able to do is you'll be able to do ads, you'll be able to have call to action such as email or direct calls or ad locations, etc. And then fundamentally, even better, you'll have access to analytics, because the analytics and insights is what's going to actually inform the kind of content you're putting out and help you understand if what you're doing is working. Okay. And so, like I kind of said, you be clear about what your page represents. That's really, really important, because what it will help you do is when you're being clear about what your page represents, you'll start to use keywords in that. And when you use keywords within what your page is about, it will help Instagram push you to the right places and push you to the right people who are the right audiences. As you can see here, for example, this one has We Are Stripes and has diversity in it. Now, because We Are Stripes uses diversity in their title, they use it in their hashtags and in the comments that they use, the posts they talk about. When you search diversity in Instagram, We Are Stripes as a platform, as a page will come up underneath that hashtag. So just for not having their name, just by using the word diversity, that will come up in their page. So it's really important that you're clear about what your page is about, so Instagram can understand who to push it to and push it to the right audience. This element right here is, again, super important, because it's an opportunity for you to show your brand, to show your organization who you're about. So make sure that whatever your image is, fits the size, it fits the logo, it fits the profile picture correctly, and it's not too big or some of the letters are cut out. Make sure it really showcases your brand, because it's the opportunity, it's the first thing people see when they come for your profile. Okay. the feed. So for me, the feed is this is the bread and butter of Instagram. This is basically where you get to put the different types of content that you're going to post and that most people will see when they're scrolling through their feed. So for example, you can add a photo, you can use a video, or you can use a carousel, which is the kind of what we're going to focus on here. Now, a carousel is a really good piece of, a really cool feature on Instagram. What it allows you to do is post up to 10 photos at once. And when you post those 10 photos, when someone engages or someone from your audience engages with that, with a specific post, so let's say they engage with this first post, or they look at it and they engage with it and they don't swipe, next time they go through their feed, the next post in that carousel will be shown to them. So what that's allowing you to do is share more content in one post and get hopefully more people to engage and review some of your content, okay? So with this post, when we took over the Arts Council's Instagram page a couple of weeks ago, what we did is we introduced the newest member to our team, which is Peggy. And what we did with this, we did a card like this, then we had a question, then we did a video post, followed by another question. And what that allowed is it gave different types of content, and it made it gave the page easier ways for people to engage with your content and to really take in what's being presented from your platform or to your the kind of content type you're trying to get out. Okay, let's just go back to that a second. This beautiful little thing here is called share, and we're going to talk about that right now. So when you share a post when you put a post in your feed, you can share it directly to your stories. Now, this is another great way of really engaging with your audience and really trying to build your audience to see what's on your post and see what content you're talking about. And what happens is the algorithm for the stories works exactly the same way as the algorithm for your feed. So what that basically means is the more that people engage with your stories, the more likely that people are going to see it, and it's going to be front and center of the story feed, which therefore means if they've seen that post and they haven't seen the post or seen your feed, this is an opportunity to champion it there. Now, what I often see people do is they just share the post straight to the stories without hiding it or giving a little mask so that people can be enticed, or it's a little teaser, for example. So by teasing that post, hopefully you're hoping that people want to see more, and then they'll go to the feed when you direct them to the feed from the stories. Okay. Now, there are several different ways you can do it. Like, for example, if you've got copy that has more information, then maybe you might say new post up, go to our feed to find out the rest of the story. Or if the main image is the photo, then you might hide some of it, like I've done here. So there's loads of different ways for you to talk about having a new post in your feed, and sharing it to your stories is just one way. Okay. Now, copy. This is a really, really important element. Okay. Copy and call to actions. Now, the copy allows you to give a narrative. It allows you to tell a story. It allows you to bring to life whatever your post is. Okay. So bringing that post to life, you can write. Some people say that people don't like reading long, lots of copy and lots of long text in Instagram, but I think it depends on your audience and how you've communicated them in the past. If you're giving them a bit of quality or a behind the scenes story or a bit of information they never knew, you'll tend to find that people will engage with it. Okay, so creating your copy is very important, especially when you're trying to decide what your objectives are or when you're trying to achieve a certain objective. Let's say, for example, you're trying to drive website visitors from your Instagram page. Your call to action might be at the end of the copy. Click the link in the bio to go to our website to find out more. So making sure you've got enticing copy so people have read it and want to take in your call to actions at the end is very important. Okay. Another little pro trick. Normally on Instagram, if you write directly to Instagram, it will be a block, and we all know, and you can't separate it and you can't get the paragraphs. What I would suggest you do, as long as you're if you've got an iPhone or an Android and you've got notes, as long as it's the latest update, literally go and write it in your notes, take it from your notes, and just post it, copy it and paste it directly to your Instagram, to your Instagram feed underneath the post, sorry. And that will make it so that you've got the gaps and so that it actually reads, it looks a bit nicer and a bit neater as well. Okay. So another way that you can add, make your post a bit more accessible as well. So what you'll do is once you've got put an image up, say you've got a photo up, you can write alternative text. Now, how you basically do this is you go to, once you've gone to your feed, when you've gone through to share your post, you go down to advanced settings, and you scroll down a little bit and it will say write alternative text. Now, what that allows you to do is to write a description that makes it easier for people who are visually impaired to actually get more understanding about what that post is about, okay? Now, currently it's only you can only do this for photos currently, but if you want to do it for videos, then you can, again, you write a caption saying video description, write accessibility, and then do a bit more description in your copy, in your post, so that people who are visually impaired or who might have accessibility issues can actually view it better, okay? Another bonus that actually I forgot about this is that you can actually update previous posts. So if this is something that you want to do going forward, you can go back through all of your old posts and actually update this and write alternative text. So you can do that on all of your posts as well. So that's something that you can do going forward, okay? The next thing we're going to look at is the grid. Now, the grid is the profile of your profile page. When somebody's clicked through to your Instagram profile, they've looked at the feed, they like the image you posted, and maybe they've clicked through to your main feed, they've seen your bio, and then they looked at your grid. Now, lots of people like to do these puzzles where they've created one massive image which kind of sits on their profile page. Me personally, I'm not a big fan of it, and I'll tell you why I'm not a fan of it. The main reason is that when you post one like this, you would have posted 9 different squares, and that means you had 9 different squares that was literally going in your feed, and some squares will be nothing. There'll be no image there. There'll be nothing to it. So what that then happens is that your audience is less likely to engage with it because there's nothing to this post. There's no relevancy to them. So what that will then do, Instagram will see that and say, nobody likes this post you've just done, so therefore we're going to push you to the bottom of the feed, the bottom of when people are scrolling through. Now, when you think about Instagram, people scroll for a couple minutes. So if your content's been pushed to the bottom because you've just done 9 posts and nobody's engaged with any of them, you're now losing an opportunity to be in front of more people simply because you've done this kind of feed. So for me, it's unless you've got an incredibly engaged audience who really buy into this kind of concept, I really wouldn't recommend doing this. If you really want to do photos, then or make your grid look pretty and do the puzzle effect, try and do it so that each individual square can live on itself, can tell its own story. Okay, so each square here can tell a different story. It's still connected and it still makes the process look, the page look beautiful, and you can still get a really nice aesthetic, but it allows you to make the page look really good, and then you can get your brand narrative across in that way. But the biggest thing I have to stress about this is style over substance. It really doesn't, there's nowhere that is proof, or there's no research to suggest that having a really pretty or really attractive, aesthetically pleasing page does anything for your to the algorithm or for your performance. So with that being in mind, always consider the content you're making. That's always going to be the most important. If you're creating content that your audience wants to engage with, that's what's going to make them happy. So it doesn't necessarily matter what your profile looks like, as long as you're creating content that your audience wants. So that's entertaining, that's educating, that's fun, that causes an emotion or an emotive feeling. That's what's going to make your audience engage. Okay, so always keep that in mind. It's more about the substance than the style. Okay, so next we're going to concentrate on the stories. Now, for me, this is another really underrated feature on Instagram. There's so many features to it, and it has so many possibilities. Okay. But the main reason why I think it's underrated for me is because it's all in the name. People don't really take into consideration this in the name. It's stories. How do you tell a story? A beginning, a middle, and an end. And just by creating a story, what you're actually allowed to do is you'll get people more enticed in your content, because you're actually you're taking people on a journey. Each clip can be up to 15 seconds long. So if you do 5 or 6 clips, you can tell a story across those clips. You're making people engage with your content in a way that is more unique, and it's likely going to keep them make sure they don't skip to the next person or leave your story. Okay, so always try and think about that when you're creating your stories. Is there a beginning? Is there a middle? Is there an end? Now, obviously, not every single post you do on stories is going to be a story, but there's something to take in consideration when going forward. Okay. Now, another beautiful thing about them is when you create stories, you can create highlights, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. So when you go into your stories, what will happen is it will be a screen like this. It probably won't be black because I blacked it out myself, but what it will be is you'll normally see your face. So you'll probably see your face because it'll be a live video. Now, these are the different options you have in stories. You can create, which is basically where you can write some copy and write a post, which is just copy. You can do a boomerang, which is just a loop. A layout is what it says, so you can put a picture with a video and some copy, etc. A super zoom doesn't really do much. It's just it just zooms into a picture or a face or what have you. You can go hands-free, so you'll press this button here, and you can put your camera down and go hands-free. Okay. So there's lots of good little features and good ways to really bring stories to life. Okay, but there's so many more. So like I said, when you go live on stories, what normally happens is you get your film video. So you'll normally film video to your face. So here is a great example of how you can make your stories a bit more accessible as well. So if you're, in this instance, Megan is talking off screen, and it's not quite captions, but what she's done is she's just literally written what she's speaking about. So anybody who's viewing the video can actually just read what she's saying, or if they've got sound on, they can hear what she's saying. And then they've given a little description at the bottom about what song's playing, and then they've broken down on different people are speaking. So that's just a really easy way to try and make your stories, especially if you're using video, a bit more accessible for anybody who's trying to watch it, okay? Again, share a new post. This is another thing that we touched on. There's so many other features on Instagram stories that, again, are really criminally underused. So when we talked about earlier about creating a story and having a beginning, a middle, and an end, you can create your post and then download them here. So what you could do is when you're planning in advance, you could create a post, add the hashtags you want, add the GIFs you want and the colors you want, or however you want that post to be laid out, and then save it to your camera phone. And then when you're ready to tell that whole story, you can just upload them as and when you're ready to go. This thing here, so this is AI, so augmented reality. And what happens then is it normally projects the image to your face or to the screen or to your photo that you've uploaded. Now, again, this is a really underused effect, because what it allows you to do is not only does it allow you to put a new effect on your face or something like that, you can actually do it to your photos as well. So what it allows you to do is any image that you've uploaded to your story is to create a different effect on that image or on that post. So again, you can create a unique post based on the way you use the different effects, okay? This here is to link. So if you use IGTV, this actually allows you to do swipe up features, which a lot of people don't actually know you could do. But everybody has swipe up features with IGTV and this link post here. With this here, this again, so this adds stickers, Q&As, you can do polls. From clicking on that link, just from doing that, it allows you to create so much again. So if you're trying to engage with your audiences, you can do Q&As. If you want them to answer some questions for you, you can do polls. So there's so many different ways that you can do in stories that really get your audience engaging with your content, which is very important, because again, the more they engage, the higher up the feed it goes to them. So anyone who's looking at your stories will be higher in the story feeds, okay? This little squiggly line here. So as you can see, I've got a block color and then I've got these squiggly lines just gone through it. Now when you go to this page, what happens is you can make it a block color and then erase and use the eraser tool to do this kind of effect that I've done here. And it's got different pens and different felt tip sizes. So lots of different pens and basically just ways to write and to create content on the page, okay? And then with this is just literally when you're trying to use different fonts. So this is just the different font types that Instagram use, okay? So we're going to talk about effects. So there's even more. So when we talked about effects earlier, a lot of people don't know that if you go to the very end of effects, Instagram allows Instagram users to upload their own effects. And when you go in here, there's a plethora of different effects made from loads of different Instagram users, which again, you can use for free. You can download it and save it to your effects list, on your effects list on the start, so you don't have to go and search for it all the time. And just from using this, again, you can create really unique stories that are unique to you and that give your stories a bit more of oomph, a bit more lift, okay? So really, again, so next time you're on Instagram, just scroll to the end of your, go to the AI thing, scroll to the end and just take a look at some of the cool effects that are available to you, because you could be missing out on some really great tools there. Okay. So more things and stories. Now, as you can see, there's an element here called close friends. To me, this is a criminally underused aspect of stories. Now, what close friends allows you to do is it allows you to create what I would probably call organization ambassadors, or people who you know really engage with your content. So you could specifically have special people who you really like or who really engage with you on a regular basis, say, we're going to create content that only you can see. So you can really build that community with this feature, where you can share special content to them first, or give them advanced previews of things, and make them feel like they're a special part to you and your organization, a special connection with your community. Okay. You can also add to highlights. So we kind of spoke about this before, and we've got down here, we've got a couple of highlights for events and job opportunities. But again, highlights is such a versatile tool, which is really, really underused. So for example, let's say your organization and your location is hard to find from the nearest train station, for example. You could put directions, and you could literally film how you get to your location in your stories, and then put that as a location highlight. So people can just literally take the journey and walk with you towards your to your theatre or your venue, what have you, and they can all follow that through your highlights. This stays here forever, and that way, again, it's a really easy way to use highlights. Or you could put an about page. So on your highlights, you could have an about section, and it gives you the opportunity to tell what you're about, why you're on this platform, what kind of content you're going to be using. So highlights is a really good way to share a story. If you didn't know, stories only last for 24 hours. So another reason why people use highlights is because they can save their favorite content or their favorite stories and make them evergreen and make them everlasting by saving them to highlights. Okay. IGTV. Now, IGTV is the third and probably the newest of the features to Instagram. And what IGTV is basically long form video. And so what that basically means is it's any video that's longer than a minute and can go up to 60 minutes, okay? So you can upload videos to Instagram that are 60 minutes long and that allow people to watch more about your organization or create or get to know more about your content or whatever type of video format, content that you want to put out. Another good thing about it is that you can create series. Now, from creating series, what that allows is, again, it allows you to engage with an audience. It allows you to say, just like any TV series, people, if you know you've created a series of content that's going to come out every week, you can say every Friday we're going to post a new IGTV about XYZ, and your audience can not only can they be alerted by this by following the series, they can also once they've clicked the notification to know that they want to know more about this video, when they go on live and you posted the video, it will be top of their feed. So that'd be the first thing they see. So it's a real good opportunity for you to really connect with an audience and really build a regular piece of content using their series feature, okay? And then finally, IGTV gives all accounts swipe up features. Now, again, so when we went back earlier, we showed you the little link symbol, which was in stories. This is really easy to do. What you'd normally do is you go to your IGTV, your videos that you uploaded, you click on it and say share to your stories. Once you share it to your stories, you go to the little link, which is the URL sign. It'll take you back to IGTV. You choose which video you want, and then it'll say call to action added. And then you can write whatever copy you want to say swipe up now or whatever you want to do to add to your story. And then what will happen is you won't see the swipe up now yourself, but when anybody looks at the page, that story, they will see the swipe up option and the ability to swipe up to that video. Okay. So it's your turn. So now anybody who's got a phone and who wants to take part, we're going to try create a new post in your stories. So it's really easy to do. What we're going to do is we're going to do the block color, and then we're going to do the scribble for it. Okay. So grab your phones. What you have to do is literally go to your story. So there'll be this little button here in the top corner in your phone. Again, when you go on your story, you'll probably see yourself and it won't be a black screen. Go to this little here, which is your library, your photo library. Upload any photo you want or you got in your phone, in your camera phone. So when you upload it, what will happen is the photo will become a main square inside of the image there for you. Okay, so you'll see it there like that. And then the color will probably match. As you can see, the colors matched similar to the photo. Now, what you then do is, as you can see, my color palette is currently green, so it's on the green button. Another little pro tip, if you actually keep your finger down on any of the colors here, a color board will come up, and then what happens is you can literally, I don't mean as in the little dots, you'll get a color board, which will let you choose whatever color you want across the spectrum of the rainbow. So it's a really good little trick. But yes, so my color is green, for example. So what should happen is if you hold down on your screen, and once you've chosen what your color up, it should give you a block color just like this. So literally hold down on your screen, no matter where you are, and it will give you a block color. Then grab the eraser tool, which is this one here, and erase away so people can see a little bit of your post. You can then add whatever copy you want, new post in feed, whatever copy you got that you want to entice people to go and check out the new post you posted recently. Okay, this is a really easy way of just doing it, and doing it in a cool way that which is slightly different. You don't see very often on Instagram. Okay. So we've gone through some of the features and we've talked about some of the cool things you can do on Instagram. The next thing we're going to do is show you how to build an audience. Now, fundamentally, being able to use these features is important, but how do you get an audience to actually want to engage with the content and these features that you've created? For me, there's three things we're going to concentrate on: consistency, engaging with communities, and then organic growth versus paid. Okay, so these are the three main things that are going to help you if you're trying to build an audience quickly and get lots of followers over a short period of time, or a relatively short period of time. These are the kind of things you're going to need to some of the skills you're going to need to partake in to do that. So post consistently. This goes without saying, if you don't post consistently, how are your audience going to get to know what you're about? How are your audience going to see the content you're, how are they going to be able to engage with you and actually like what you do? If you're trying if your purpose is to try and build an audience and to gain followers, you're going to need to post a minimum of 3 to 4 times a week. And if I'm being honest, that's a bare minimum. And that includes stories. And when I say stories, I don't mean just share posts. I mean, that's in, again, thought through stories, which add a different take on what you're doing and the content you're putting out. I can't stress this enough. You can post 3 to 4 times a week. This is important, but it has to be relevant content to your audience. If it's not relevant content to your audience, there's really no point in you posting, because you don't know what they like. You're just putting things out and there's no rhyme or reason for what you're doing. So it has to be content that is relevant to your audience and that is going to make them want to engage with what you're doing and it aligns with the objectives that you've got for your organization. Use relevant hashtags consistently. So again, as we talked about earlier, because we had diversity in our profile, it helped us help Instagram understand what our profile was about. And then in our hashtags, we'll use diversity again. So for example, you may be a theatre. So if you've got your name, then you've got theatre in your profile. Then when you're posting your hashtags, you're using theatre hashtag. Instagram will understand this is what your content's about. This is what your platform's about. This is what your page is about. Okay. In your stories, in your feed, again, you can use more hashtags. In your stories, you can put up to 10 hashtags. So again, it's another way of just getting your content out there. And when you use hashtags in your stories, it allows you to be added to that hashtag story. Does that make sense? So when you use that, if it's a post that's been engaged with a lot, Instagram will take that story that you posted, and if you use a relevant hashtag, they will add it to the story, that hashtag story as well. Consistently monitor your insights. If you're not monitoring your insights, you won't know what content is working. You really have to understand what content is working, when to post, when your audience is mainly online. Really get that understanding, look at your insights to see what's working. And I'll go through how you can look at that shortly, but monitoring your insights is really key for you to build an audience in the first place and delivering content that's relevant. So one way you can build an audience through engagement is by following hashtags. So as we just touched on, you can follow hashtags. And remember I said if you use certain hashtags in your stories, they'll go to that hashtag story, where this is what I mean by that. So let's say you use hashtag museums in your story. If it got engaged enough, Instagram would add to the stories, hashtag for museums, as an example. Now, when you follow relevant hashtags to your community or to the audience areas that you want to communicate with or connect with, what it will allow you to do is see anybody who's posting about that specific subject matter. So let's say this top post here, let's say I was Ace and I went on, I saw that there's this image here. I could go on and make a comment and talk about this image, or maybe add a bit of insight that someone else didn't know about. Maybe I might share it to my stories. And just from doing that, you're letting that community know that you're aware and you're about, and that you have a presence in this community. And if you're adding value to these stories or adding value to this image or to the conversations being had, more people are likely to follow your page as well, okay? Now, if you're going back to growth hack, if you're trying to really grow follower numbers and really build an audience, growth hackers predominantly say that you need to do this for a consistent time period. So they normally say at least 90 days of consistently trying to go into different communities that you're trying to build an audience with, and like, again, sharing their post or commenting underneath their post. Now, if you can do this for like 10-15 minutes a day, every day for like 90 days, your follower numbers will jump significantly. And if you're doing it underneath relevant hashtags that are relevant to what your content is about and relevant to what your organization is about, then you will definitely start to get followers and traction and engagement with people who you want to see your content and the audience members you're actually trying to get. Now, let's be realistic. We obviously understand that organizations and people don't have the people and the resources to be able to actually go ahead and do that. So what I would say is, even if you just did that 3 or 4 times a week, 10 to 15 minutes at each time, where you just go in and engage in the different communities that are relevant to you, your following will start to increase, the engagement levels will start to increase, and you'll really start to build an audience based on the things that you're trying to do, okay? So again, use platform features that encourage engagement. Now, there's so many great features and stories that really encourage your audience to engage with you. And what I mean by that, they encourage your audiences to take an action. So you can do that by doing polls in your stories. You can do that by adding questions to your stories. For example, you could get your audience to ask you questions, and then the next day you could say, I'm going to answer those questions in an Instagram live. So what you're doing is you're communicating with your audience in a way that is different, and making them know that you care about their thought processes and the things they say. So these are really easy ways for you to just use different platform features to make your audience engage with what you're doing. So using hashtags, as touched on before, if you use hashtags, you can be added to different stories, but the same thing happens to locations. If you tag your location, so let's say you're a Manchester-based organization, and if you use the location Manchester, if your story gets engaged with enough, it will be added to the Manchester stories. And again, that means more people will see it. So again, it's just getting you out there into front of more people. So just these little tricks are just easy ways and easy wins for you to start doing now to get in front of the audiences that you're trying to get in front of. So how do you use hashtags? So you can use up to 30 hashtags in your feed, and you can use 10 in your stories. Okay. So one thing I have to stress though, if you're trying to build an audience that is actually relevant to you and that has people that you want following you, you have to use relevant hashtags. You can't be using just follow for follow hashtags or different growth hack hashtags just to get people to follow you, because it really doesn't do nothing for the algorithm, and it doesn't do anything for your engagement, because you'll have a whole bunch of people who don't really like your content and don't engage with what you're doing. So what I would say to try and do is try and create a hashtag copy bank. Now, what this basically means is, so let's say you're a theatre, you'll have 10 or so hashtags that are theatre related and related to what you're trying to achieve as an organization or the work you do. And then what you'll do is, for each photo that you put up, you'll use those 10, and then you'll add 4 or 5 relevant hashtags for that specific photo. So whatever that specific photo or video is, you'll use specific hashtags just for that. So that way you know that you're always going out to the relevant people, and then you're adding it. So when people are searching for content on theatre, hopefully your images will come up, and then any new people from whatever the image or the video is, they'll see that hashtag as well. So that way you're creating a hashtag bank of relevant content, of relevant hashtags that will drive the relevant audiences to your page. Okay. And again, one of the good things about that is that, as you can see from here, is that you can actually see how those hashtags are performing. So sorry, I kind of jumped, but we'll go back to that. One of the key things by doing that is that you can see which hashtags are working the best. So that will help you to create that content, that hashtag bank, and that'll help you to understand, if I have 10 hashtags like this, they generate 100 new views for or new impressions for me. So you know what they're doing, and you know how they're working. And the more you look at it, the more you get used to changing hashtags and making them relevant, the more you understand that. From an accessibility point of view, if you make your hashtags what's known as camel case, which is literally where you just make the capital letter of each for the first word in each, and in the first word, in each of the whatever the hashtag is. So it says camel case, for example. So C, would that be the first letter? That will makes it a lot more accessible, and people can read it a lot easier. And it has no effect on how Instagram reads it as well. So that helps for you. Okay. Now you often see people ask the question, should it be in comments or should it be under the captions? It really doesn't matter. There's no research to suggest that it has any different effect. And as you can see, you still get, Instagram still judges that can tell you how powerful or how useful they've been. I personally prefer it in the comments because I think it looks a bit neater, but it's really up to you. And then again, as I said before, you can monitor the performance by just going to that actual post, looking at the insights for that individual post and seeing how those hashtags perform. So organic growth is possible. That's the good news. It's definitely still possible to get organic growth on Instagram. Facebook, it's getting harder and harder, so I would start as soon as possible, but it's definitely something that you can still do. But one thing I have to say is it's going to take commitment. If you're trying to build an audience organically, you're going to have to put that work in. You're going to have to put in that effort. Okay, so this is something you're going to have to really take into consideration when you're creating any content plans or any strategy. Which leads on to our next one, which is have a clear strategy. If you don't know why you're on Instagram and why you're posting content and what you're trying to achieve, it makes it hard for you to understand what's working. It makes it, you start to post just to post. You won't have any rhyme or reason to the content that you're putting out. So having a clear strategy and understanding what your objectives are will make that a lot easier for you and make your Instagram a lot clearer for your audience when they come to look at your page. Resources, people, and financial. So when I talk about resources, you have to, when you're creating a strategy and when you're trying to build a page, you have to be honest with yourself and with your organization about how much time do we have to put in towards our social media? How much time do we have towards building our Instagram page? If you know that there's only one person who works half a day a week and they've got 4 other things to do, maybe having incredibly high KPIs isn't realistic because you know they only work half a day a week, 1 day a week, and they have a lot of other things to do. So you have to be realistic about your resource level. Financially, can you create content? Do you have someone who can help you create content? Are you going to be filming content? Are you going to need to pay to content? All of these things you have to keep into consideration when you're creating that clear strategy so that you can create KPIs that are relevant to you and that are actually feasible and actually attainable. So using ads. Now, for me, a great way to use ads, if you don't have the time to maybe do that kind of commitment and to really lock in building that audience, what you can do is use ads to amplify key pieces of content. Now, what that basically means is you can go to, let's say you've got a post that you know is really good, it's performed really well that week. You can now boost that post and send it to the exact audience that you want it to go to, because you can really tailor curate the audience on the audience that you send it to when you're doing the ad. So that basically means that if, let's say you want to get it to, I don't know, you want to get it to kids between 16 and 18 who are based in London and based in Manchester, and that's just their perfect demographic. You can create that audience type and send that piece of content to them directly. And then anybody who engages with it, you now know that this is the content they like. And so you're building the audience type perfectly, and then you can keep developing that. And the beauty of it is, to do an ad is, you can pay as little as £1, as little as £1. So it's not, they don't have to be expensive. Instagram will tell you if the amount of money that you put forward is enough to reach a certain goal that you've tried to attain. But on the whole, I've done ads from as little as £6. So you can do ads at really low prices. And if they're targeted correctly, you can get really good results. Okay. So your turn, it's your turn again. So this time we're going to try and follow relevant hashtags. Okay. So what I want you to do is, if your organization or whatever it is you're about, or your organization's about, or whatever topic matters for you, I want you to think about a couple of hashtags and just give them a follow. So all you have to do is go to the search button on Instagram here. You'll come up to the Explorer page. We're typed in theatre this time, so type in theatre, or well, don't have to type in theatre, type in whatever is relevant to you. And as you will see, you'll get a whole host of different relevant hashtags. Then quite simply follow it. Once you follow that hashtag, those posts will now enter your feed, and you can start to engage with them as and when you want, if so need be. Okay. So again, a really easy way to try and to start to build engagement with different audiences and start to put yourself out there on the platform so people understand who you are as an organization. As you can see on here, it's got top. Now, top that basically means the post that's been engaged with the most or got the most likes, etc., etc. And then recent is just the post, which is the most recent post. If you click recent, it'd be the most recent post using that specific hashtag. Okay. But this is, again, a really easy way to try and build communities. If you go onto their story, you can see other people's stories who are posted under theatre and see if there's any relevancy there that you want to connect with, or if anybody you want to talk to or share their story again with. So this is a really easy way to build engagement. Okay. So hopefully you tried that and hopefully that's worked for you. And then we'll move on to our last segment, how to measure results. So what we've done now, so far, we've spoke about the platform and the features and the different ways that they work. We've spoke about how you can use these features to build an audience. Now we need to look at how can we actually see if what we're doing actually works? How do we actually measure our success on Instagram? And that's what we're going to go through next. Okay. So these are the three main metrics for me that we're going to try and cover in this segment. Make sure you've got clear objectives, use your analytics, and benchmarking. Having clear objectives is so key and so important, because again, it will help define what you're doing and help define how you're going to post content going forward. Using analytics will tell you if these things are working, and then benchmarking will give you the opportunity to understand what you've done previously and what you should try and attain to get now. Okay. Before we're doing that, we're going to kind of just give you a very quick whirlwind show of what insights look like on Instagram. Okay, so we've got when you go to insights, this is the page you'll see. You'll have content, activity, and audience. And then when you scroll down that page, you'll have stories. So it's exactly the same page, it's just got stories. And again, and then a little bit further down, it's got promotions if you want to do ads. Okay. So what we'll then do is we'll click on see all. So that will show you all of your posts. So as you can see here, this shows for ACE's page, this shows you all of their posts for the last year. Okay. So, or not in that screen, but yeah, the majority of their posts from last year, as you can see on the screen. So the very first tab is all. So this, because it's all, that means it's their videos, it's their carousels, it's their photos. But when you select that, it allows you to choose what content you want to look at or what content you want to analyze only. So let's say you only want to look at photos. When you click photos, then only your photos will come up. When you click videos, only your videos will come up, etc., etc. Okay. So that's how you look at that. The next thing you'd look at, so for us, it says 1 year, but again, you can select the time period. So you can look back the last 7 days. You can look at the best posts over the last 30 days, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, or 2 years. Now, one thing I have to caveat that with is, if your account is not a business account, or you've only just made your account a business account, you can only go as far back as how long you've been a business account for. So if you haven't been a business account for 2 years, you won't be able to see back your results and your content for the past 2 years, for example. Okay. But again, by looking back over this time period, you get to see, it makes it easier for you to benchmark what worked and what didn't work. Okay. And then finally, it's reach or interactions, select interactions. So again, this allows you to choose what KPIs are relevant to you. So let's say it was organization awareness, you might look at impressions, for example. So you might want to see how many impressions did we get over the last year, how many impressions over the last 7 days, or over the last month, or what have you, what have you. But this can choose the specific interaction that you're looking for. You can just click accordingly. Okay. Okay. And then this page is activity. So now we look at the activity. So what this basically means is how many posts, what was the reach of your post over the week. So as we can see here on Tuesday and Saturday, Ace did something went down really well with their audience, and they got lots of engagement or reached lots of different profiles. So now, so just from looking at these insights, you can start to think, okay, what did we do on these specific days that worked really well? We can start to analyze that content. We can start to look at the impressions. We can start to look at the copy. We can start to look at if there was if anybody saves our post. Like, you can start to break down what was it about this post that seemed to work, that generated more reach than the things we did on the other days. Okay. And this is the same thing. So interactions is just basically when people have clicked on a post, or if they've visited your profile after seeing a post, or if you've had a call to action to go to the link in bio, all of those kind of things. This is what the interactions are. Okay. And then finally, we look at the audience. So again, what we spoke about today is creating content that's relevant to your audience. So let's say, for example, Ace have the majority of the audience is based in London, but let's say they want to start creating content for people in Bristol, and because they really want to increase the demographic of people who like their content in Bristol. They can see from this that the majority of their gender of the people following them are women, 70% women and 30% men. So they may say, okay, we want to increase the amount of our audience in Bristol, and we want to increase the amount of men who like our content in Bristol. So then they can start to create content based around this knowledge. They know that this is what they're trying to achieve, so they can start to figure out how do we create content that's relevant to people in Bristol and that will appeal to men, as an example. And again, even they can see here, this is their age ranges. So if you can see the type of age ranges of people who are following you, if this is your ideal age range, then again, you'll start to think about, okay, this is our ideal age range, 40% are between 25 and 34. The content that we put out should align with that age range. It should align with the what they're trying to find, what they're trying to think, how they consume content. And then finally, you've got down the bottom here, it says hours or days. Now, this tells you when your audience is online, okay? So on a Sunday, for example, it tells you that the majority of Arts Council's audience are on at 9 o'clock. So for us, in an ideal world, maybe they would need to post at 9 o'clock on a Sunday, for example, for that specific day. Now, if you were to click on days, it would tell you the best day of the week for you to post, and you could look at those things again accordingly, okay? But these are all great ways of you to get a better understanding of your audience and a better understanding of how to create content that will be relevant to those audiences, okay? So your insights are really, really crucial. So having clear objectives. I said it before and I say it again, what are you trying to achieve? You have to really know what you're trying to achieve online. If you don't know what you're trying to achieve, your messaging will be confusing, and the content that you put out will be mixed, and you won't be able to create an audience because they don't know if you're coming or going, because there's no relevancy to what you're doing, okay? How does it relate to your wider digital objectives? Again, this is really important, because if your overall objectives is, say, we want to drive traffic to our website, or we want to drive traffic to our e-commerce shop, or we want to sell more tickets, how is the content that you're putting out aligning with those stories? How is it aligning with those objectives? Keeping these things in mind will help you when you're creating your content, and will give you, again, direction, and it will give every post a purpose. Use objectives to inform how you post. So a great example of this, let's say, for example, you're trying to drive traffic to your website. So you may now you've created a blog post, and in that blog post, you've created a nice image to go on your Instagram page, and you can say, write in your copy, new story, find out more on our website, click the link in our bio, because one of your objectives is to drive traffic to your website. So the content that you've created and where you posted it and the way you posted it aligns with your overall objectives. So it can still be fun, it can still be engaging, but you're thinking about how it aligns with your overall objective to drive traffic to your website, okay? So having a purpose and the reason for why you're on Instagram is very, very important, especially when trying to build an audience and trying to actually deliver measurable results. So again, use your analytics. What that will do is that, as we just kind of showed you, it will show you what's working. Now, what we mean by that is, maybe when you do a post with lots of copy and you go into lots of detail and it's an emotive detail, that works really well. Or maybe when you go live and do a live, Instagram live, that's when you get the best feedback or the most engagement. Look at your insights to see what's working. When I do a carousel, do we get lots of engagement, or more so than when I do a normal post? Really look at the detail, the finer details of what's working. And the more that you look and the more you understand, the more you'll be able to fine tune your content plan, your content mix, so you're delivering all the time and what your audience wants to see. When's the best time to post? Now, although Instagram does tell you when the best time to post is, I personally find that it can be a little hit and miss. So what I would say is that, again, the more you get used to posting, the more you'll start to understand when your audience is online. The more you'll see because of how you're posting yourself. So use Instagram's advice as a benchmark, but then start to play with it yourself and say, okay, when I post at this time, I notice I get a lot more responses. I'll give you an example. So one account that I look after, during lockdown, when lockdown started, he used to post at 6 o'clock, and that was the best time of the day to post. What he found now is during lockdown, 11 a.m. is the best time for him to post. He found that when he posted around 11 or around that time, maybe because his audience are just waking up or just getting up, but that seems to work really well for him now. So we had to adjust the way we posted our content and knew that we posted at 11 a.m. because now people are engaging more than they were when we were doing it on a 6 o'clock on a Sunday, for example. So really the more you put content out more consistently, like we've talked about, and looked at your analytics more consistently, the more you'll start to see these trends and understand how best to reach your audience. And then understand your current audience. This is really important. So what I mean by that, as we just saw in the previous page, ACE's current audience is 70% women and 30% men. So if this is their ideal audience, creating content that aligns to a female perspective would probably be more engaged, would probably be more beneficial to them so that they can get more engagement. So really look at your audience, look at the age demographic, look at what the gender demographic is, look at the location bias. Are they predominantly in London, Birmingham, etc., and think about how you start to create audience that will be relevant to these people, create content, sorry, that will be relevant to these people, okay, to the audience members who are following you. And then benchmarking. Look at your past results. This is the really easy thing to do. So let's say you want to start benchmarking from today. Go back 3 months, look at let's say your objective is, I don't know, organization awareness. So your objective is organization awareness. Go back over the last 3 months and see what your impressions were. How many impressions did you get? What was your reach? How many new followers did you get? Just from, and this is a very top level, very basic version of doing that, but just from doing that, you'll be able to see, okay, we've got 100 followers and impressions of 100 over a 3-month period. So to increase our impressions to 200, we now need to post X amount of times, because you can see from how many, when you posted 10 times before, you've got 100 impressions. So now I want to get 200 impressions, so I'm going to post 20 times, for example. You can see how it works really easy from benchmarking from previously. So if you benchmark your results, that will help you define KPIs that are not only achievable, but improve on what you've done previously. But when you're creating KPIs, they should be realistic. Now, again, when I talk about being realistic, I talk about the internal process. Do you have team members who can actually continue to work your strategy? Do you have team members who can post for you? How are you getting that content internally? How are you going to engage in communities? Be realistic with what you're trying to achieve based on your people resources, people and internal processes. Okay, so it's again your turn. So what I want you to do is to note down your best performing post from the last 3 months, and then really give it a look at it, see what was it about this post that you think done well. Was it a video? Was it an image? Was the caption really good? Was it a funny caption? Did we share it to story? Have a look at these things just to try and define, and that's just to get you into the mindset of thinking about how you start to analyze your content. Okay, so it's really easily done. You go to your insights. So you go to this little button here. It will take you to this page. You click on posts or see all. And then remember, you go to the 1 year, which would be interactions. And for this one, we're just going to look at impressions just to keep it simple. So you'll click on impressions and click on 3 months, and then it will bring up your post, the best performing post. So then look at that post and just note it down for yourself to come back to look at it later to see which one of these posts performed well. What was it about this post that performed well? Now, I don't know the reason why Ace did this, but I can take a guess. So let's take an example of this. I can imagine this was during the heart of the Black Lives Matter movement, and so they shared some books that are relevant to that situation, that movement was happening at the time. So Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People About Race was the book that I'm assuming they shared and done really well and got a lot of engagement, as you can see. Okay, so stuff like that is just understanding why that book might have been posted and why that might have worked at that time. So maybe it was because it was topical. So you can start to look at these things and start to understand what content works for you, and when to put it out, and how to actually make sure that you're really aligning and hitting your KPIs. Okay. And there we have it. I think it's time for some questions. If anybody has any questions, please do let me know. Okay. Just looking down here now. Okay, there's so many. Okay, I'm going to try and answer a few of them. I won't be able to answer them all, but let's see. Okay. Okay, so one question was from Sirius. Do you recommend using arrows to the artwork and carousels, or do people used to scrolling through them now? I always say, if you can put that call to action, put that call to action. Just because it's a little nudge. It's a little nudge. So if you can get a call to action out, then definitely do it. Someone said, what's the best, Parallel said, what's the best tool to manage Instagram from PC? Depends on what you're trying to achieve. There's a number of different scheduling platforms, Buffer, Hootsuite. You even schedule directly from Facebook using Facebook Creator Studio. So there's quite a few to choose from there. Where is the IGTV series feature? Can't really find it. So if you've uploaded a video, once you've uploaded a video, an IGTV video, once you're going through, it asks you, do you want to place this in a series? And once you're uploading it, let's say, do you want to create a series? And you can create a series there. And it'd be, what's the difference between reach and impressions? Okay, so Anna TB said, what's the difference between reach and impression? Reach is how many accounts your content has been shown to. So how many accounts how many feeds your content has been going to. Impressions are literally when someone stops to look at something. So for example, if I look at the same post several times, that would be an impression each time I look at it. So that's what an impression is. Okay, so reach is how many accounts your content has been pushed to, and impressions is how many times someone's actually looked at it. And I think just because of time restraints, let me see, hang on a minute, there's a couple more. Do I have any advice for Instagram Lives? The best advice for me for Instagram Lives, I would say, is make sure you buy really good Wi-Fi, because Instagram Lives, for some reason, the Wi-Fi seems to be really shaky around them. And just do it. There's not, you can, like I said, you can start to plan them out. So let's say you decide to do a Q&A, get your audience to give you some questions the day before, and then just go live and answer the questions they've sent in. At least that way you've got a basis to begin with. Wild Geese Theatre Company said, if you're plotting out a narrative that you're releasing over a few days or weeks, would you post incidental stuff too or not interrupt the narrative? No, you can do both. You can do both. You can definitely do both. It's just about thinking about why you're doing it and why you're trying to do it. So if you've got a series or a campaign that you're running, you can still run that campaign, and in between that, you can share other bits of content. You can share what I would call your business as usual content, the content that you always share, and then the campaign content will just be an added bonus sort of thing. And then you can prioritize how you post it. So you may post your campaign content at your peak times for your audience to see. You might share it to stories, so you're really trying to highlight the campaign story content. More questions. Firino M said, regarding the coloring and squiggles, followed them. I can't see any of these features on my Instagram. Okay, so everybody should definitely have them. So if you go to stories, they will definitely be in your stories. If you go to the squiggly line, it'll be the top of your stories, unless you haven't updated your Instagram account in a long time. So maybe you might need to update the Instagram account. Otherwise, they definitely should be there. Okay, and that's all the questions I've kind of got time for now. So I want to thank everybody for coming online for us today. I hope you all got something from it and enjoyed it. This is my final thoughts. I always think that you should leave on a final thought. And Gary Vee is a social media guru. He has lots of different social media agencies and has done really well with social media. And this is something that I think kind of really resonates with what we've been talking about today. You should only create content that is actually good for your audience, that's actually going to make your audience want to engage with you, okay? When you put out content that's relevant, people will flock to it. This is the standard procedure. This is what happens. If you put out content that's relevant, people will flock for it, okay? I want to thank everybody for coming through today. We have another webinar coming up with my brilliant colleague, Saeed, who's doing an SEO webinar. That's on the 6th of August, I believe. I would also be doing another social media webinar on the 20th of August around Twitter and how to get the best out of your Twitter. And I'll also have someone from Twitter coming to join us as well to talk about brand new features as well for the platform. I hope everybody has had a great day and have been able to learn something and picked up a few tips along the way. And please bear with me, because this webinar will go up on our YouTube page within the week or so, and I will send out some more resources and some further reading as well as this deck for you to look over should you so wish. Thank you so much, everybody. It's been emotional.